Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Munciana Courtside, week 2. Once again, we're here in bright, beautiful Yorktown, Indiana, where the air is fresher, water's cleaner, and it is the home, Munciana Courtside. My name is Mike Langenfelter, your host, Randall Gardner.
This week, we're going to go ahead and hit on what happened last week in the high school season. Last week, Assumption opened up by sweeping Avon early on Saturday, followed by Assumption taking down Cathedral in 4 sets. Mike spoke to Ron after the game.
Got mixed emotions on this one, being a Kentucky boy and watching them roll into my new home, Indiana. Did talk to Ron Cordes, the godfather of volleyball. Don't forget that. If you do, he'll make sure you remember it. He talked to me about the Assumption-Avon matchup and then the Cathedral matchup, and he said the difference throughout the whole thing. The smallest Assumption team he's ever had, but maybe the best defensive team he's ever had. He used 2 different bros in both matches. He's loaded. One of his bros is going to be slumming at Nebraska. The other is slumming at the University of Kentucky. He's got 9 kids already verbally committed in defensive spots alone to go to college. It's no wonder that they're a defensive juggernaut. And he said that the Cathedral match really came down to them just keeping balls alive longer and just steadier play. But he did give kudos to both coaches and both programs.
Also on Tuesday night, we talked about last week, Blues Day, as Mike referred it to. The first game we would have talked about would have been Carmel and Avon. Carmel took down Avon in 5 sets.
That's a great early season matchup. Those 2 teams have hooked horns quite a bit over the last couple of years, once early in the year and always over the last 2 years. Once at the end of the season, the very last match of the season, Carmel exacts a little revenge for the season ender last year.
The other match was Tuesday evening. Concordia played Belmont, and Concordia beat them in 4.
Well, Concordia, we talked about early on. One of the 2 of us picked Concordia to win that match. I can't remember exactly who that was, but Concordia, just a little too much Tiana Williams.
Also, Yorktown Invite was Saturday. Ron Colley and Delta both went 4-0. Center Grove went 3-1. Yorktown went 2-2. Belmont went 0-3, and Fort Wayne Concordia went 2-2. Chittard and Westfield also went 0-4. Thoughts on that, Mike?
That's a brutal early season tournament. One of the neat things about the state of Indiana right now is there's great parity. And every weekend you're capable of finding an incredible tournament with depth. Not 2 teams, 3 teams. This tournament is incredibly deep. When you look at Chittard, a team that's been in state championships, Belmont's won state championships, both going 0-4. Westfield is as talented as anybody going 0-4. Concordia, we mentioned, it was one of our top 10 teams, goes 2-2. Center Grove gets picked off. Ron Colley and Delta, great surprise today. So no, that's one of the beauties of our sport. It's one of the beauties of being in this state.
Yeah. One thing we're going to get to before we get into our top 10, we had a player of the week this past week. I went and watched Tiana play Belmont. Tiana Williams will be a player of the week. She had 23 kills, had 426, 10 digs, 6 aces, and 5 blocks in the 4 games set over Belmont that night.
Tiana Williams is a matchup nightmare. I believe she's the quickest lateral middle in the United States, but she's also a kid that's touching about 10-6, and she literally flies off the floor. I took a great deal of pleasure in hearing that she hit a couple balls off of kids' domes that night, and that's always good to see. But Tiana's going to be she's going to be a force to contend with for everybody all year long.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get to the courtside top 10. Number 10.
I tell you what, number 10 on my list this week, and these guys start to pick off people late in the season always. But I'm going to go with Penn. I like Penn an awful lot. I think it's early. I think that they'll start to contest and compete against bigger and better teams as the season goes on. But they've always got to be in the hunt.
Yep, and they're number 10 and 4A in the ICGSA pool, and number 9 in Indiana Prep Volleyball.com.
We've got about 16 different ranking systems. I feel like we're professional boxing now, and I like that. So, Penn, whether you like 10 on our show, if you don't like that, take 9 on Prep Volleyball. That's better than both us and the ICGSA. Pick your poison.
Number 9.
Number 9. I'm going to stay with Columbus East. I I like the Face Squad. I like a lot of what they do. Same as Penn, still waiting to hit on some of their heavier competition. They'll be tested in the next couple of weeks, and you're going to see what they're all about. But I like them in our top 10.
Yeah, they're number 8 in 4A in the ICGSA, and number 8 also on the prep volleyball. Number 8 overall now.
Number 8 overall, pretty much staying where they were. Concordia. I like this squad. I like their coaching. I like their athletes. There's just an awful lot to like about them. You know, a tough weekend this weekend, but as strong a team as there is in 3A.
Yeah, and they also did go 3 against Center Grove, which just came off that loss against Roncall that day. Number 7.
Number 7, Avon. Two-time defending state champions. Still loaded on the pins, still trying to figure out some things ball control-wise. Scott McQueen, as good a coach as there is, though, he'll get that figured out before this thing's over. They'll be in the hunt.
Yeah, they were number 4 in the 4A ICGSA and number 7 on the prep volleyball. Also, they had a big tourney win this weekend at their own place. Number 6.
Number 6, I'm going to go with the Fighting Bart Powells of Floyd Central High School. They're going to get severely tested next week. We'll see if we've got them ranked too low or too high. By this time next week, everybody will know. But Floyd Central, tremendous team. Going to be heard from all season long.
Number 3 in the other 2 polls. Number 5.
Number 5. We'll get back to these guys a little bit later in the show. Carmel High School. As good a team as there is, and I've said it 1,000 times, Carly Scott is capable of taking over a game by herself. And I think you're going to see that happen a couple more times this season.
Yeah, and they also did take down Cathedral this afternoon at the Mishawaka Invite. You hear anything about that, Mike?
You know, basically put, if Carmel's going to beat Cathedral in straight sets, you've got to think that Carly Scott had to be a major, major factor. I think that she had to play great for that to happen. Obviously, it did occur. It wasn't all about Cathedral's ball handling and defense, because the MVP of that tournament was Kendall White from Cathedral.
Number 4.
Number 4, and I tell you, this may be low. I constantly am talking about how much I like these guys. Providence. All Providence does is win. They took down the pride of Tennessee today. They're going to be. You're going to hear about them on the last day of the season, I guarantee.
I agree. Number 3.
Number 3. Going to back up to the top. Center Grove. The land that Deb McClurg created has now become an absolute player in this game. They're as good as anybody. They may be as athletic as anybody. We talked earlier in the season that Cathedral was just physically dominant. I'm so sure the Center Grove team isn't his equal, and you saw him today.
Yeah, they had a stud middle, Smeshens, and she had several kills and lost a close one to Roncall. It was her only loss today, but some big, big wins over Yorktown and everybody else at the Yorktown Invite. Number 2.
When you get down to the final 2, you do a little bit of juggling here. It was a big day for the Irish. I want those football guys out there to know that my Notre Dame Fighting Irish dominated Rice today. Welcome back, Everett Olson. Wasn't a big day for the Irish on the hardwood, though. Cathedral goes down to Carmel. You know, that's going to happen. We talked in the last show. It is virtually impossible to run the table. And so with those guys going down today, I don't think it's a huge thing. I think Carmel is as good that, you know, any one of these 10 teams can win. And so if Carmel picks off the Cathedral, that happens. But in all fairness, my number 2 team this week becomes the Irish. Cathedral drops to number 2, which going into the start of the season at number 1 in the nation. They are now sitting at 2 in my poll.
Yep. And like you said, just one tough loss, but the number 1 team now.
Well, I tell you what, number 1, and I said last week, this is a team that I really got to keep my eye on, that I was impressed with early on. And the South shall rise again. You know, deep in the heart of Dixie, I'm going to go with Roncalli Rebels is my #1 team this week. And you can whistle the fight song. What is it? Or however you want it. Roncalli Rebels, congratulations, #1 this week on Munciana Courtside.
Yeah, and they just had a great run. Crazy good defense, served the heck out of the ball, and really put Center Grove in a tough spot throughout the match and handled them pretty well throughout the 2 sets. We're going to go ahead to the next part, the panic meter. 0, not panicked at all. 10, as panicked as you can be. Avon's record at the start of the season.
God, you know, everybody makes so much out of the start of the season. I remember a couple of years ago, I may get the numbers wrong. Chittard came into the playoff time with like a 13-14 record. One game under 500 rolls all the way to a state championship. You know, it's early in the season. The things that would make me panic if I was Avon would be if they had a poor coach, if they were littered with injuries or didn't have talent. That's not the case. So if 0 is the least amount of panic and 10 is the most, 1. Avon's lost 4 times in 2 weeks. You know, who really cares? As long as he wins the last game of the season, as I alluded to last week, I will tell you, Scott's a very, very good coach. He's loaded on the bench. He's got some kids that have got to learn some things. He's still teaching some things to the setter. He's got some ball control things he's got to iron out. But if anybody's going to do it, that's the guy who's going to. And keep in mind, the last 2 years he's lost early in the season to Carmel. And the last 2 seasons he's finished in a pretty good spot. So
and the majority of his losses are really, really great teams. So you can't look at his strength of schedule. I mean, you look at the strength of schedule, he's one of the top teams anyway, based on that.
It's not a majority. I think it's every single loss is to a team that's one of the top teams in the state or the country. So.
All right, next part, GearMunciana.com. Buying or selling? We're going to go with Center Grove or Roncalli. They're in the same sectional. Whoever wins that sectional, are they a possible state contender? Are you buying or you selling?
I'm buying. I like both those teams. I like Center Grove because of how physical they are, and I love Roncalli's style of play, fast, defensive. Yeah, they are the polar opposites of one another, but I like both of those teams. I think that both those teams are capable of giving anybody a hard time. You know, if you put Center Grove in a situation where they're going to be able to handle the ball, they're as physical as anyone in the state, including Cathedral. And Roncalli, that's what they thrive on. It's just trying to beat you to death by playing just tenacious defense and swarming the ball. So I'm buying both of those teams.
Second one, we're going to go with Providence. Are they a lock for the state finals, or would you go as far as even the state championship?
I would never go as far as the state championship. That's a little bit over the top, but I'm buying those guys in the state finals. I'm telling you, Terry does an incredible job coaching that group, and whenever you have that kind of setter in a 2A, 3A level especially, it makes it tough to compete against. And they've got that kind of setting, they've got hitters, they've got depth, and they know what to do. They've won 2 of them in a row, they've been to 3 in a row. I'm buying those guys right now.
The last one, Carmel, going back to the state championship, continuing the streak to get back there.
Well, I know that Rich would like to start a new streak of winning it.
Yes.
You know, prior to today, you would have looked at all the teams that Carmel would have had to go through to get there, and you would have thought, I don't know. You know, you wonder what's going on. But, you know, they come out today, they beat Cathedral in straight sets, controlled the match. You know, it's bizarre. Anything can happen. I think that all of these teams, the team that puts together, you know, you become that team that they want to make a movie about. That kind of camaraderie, that kind of bonding. Whoever can make that happen, out of all of the teams you just referenced, all 4 of those teams could win a state championship. I'm buying. I think Carmel, right now, this early in the season, there's no reason to think they can't, especially after today. They've got to think so.
We're going to finish with Game of the Week. We're going to do a few of them. On Tuesday, September 2nd, Carmel will play Center Grove. Mike, who do you got?
Carmel at Center Grove. I'm going to go Carmel riding riding the wave of energy they got out of Mishawaka today. I'm going to go with Carmel, and really a great match, maybe the best match in the state.
Yeah, I agree. I'll go with Carmel also. All right, Thursday, September 4th, we got Avon at HSE for the conference probably championship with those two top teams, and it is at HSE.
You know, I did HSE's camp this year. That group is coming fast. I don't know if they're a year away. That group is really coming fast, incredibly well coached. As deep a coaching staff as I've ever been around. Great young talent, but I think that a little too much pen for them. I think that the two pen hitters, Weddle and Prince, maybe a bit much right now. I go Avon.
I agree. Avon over HSE. And Saturday, September 6th, the big Avon invite. Last year or so, it's been the Newcastle invites. Pool A has Floyd Central, Newcastle, Avon, and Fort Wayne Carroll. Who comes out of there?
I'm going to go Floyd Central. Wins that pool. Avon gives them a major push to get to the finals, but I think Bart Powell and his crew hold them off.
Pool B, we have Assumption, Southwood, Carmel, and Muncie Central.
I'm wearing a purple shirt, not to promote Muncie Central today, but you know, you probably thought I'd called out the Fighting Bearcats. I tell you, I think Assumption and Carmel will battle there. Assumption, maybe just a little too much ball control. The game comes down to first ball context. You can pass it, defend it, and serve it. No one does that better in the country than Assumption. I go Assumption winning that pool, and a very good pool.
Yeah, and that sets up the championship. Floyd Central, Assumption.
Well, a whole lot of accents in that game. You're getting awful Southern in Indiana, and then the Assumption guys, the kings of accents. I go Assumption to win that, and I go Assumption. They sweep it. They sweep throughout that tournament, and once again leave Indiana happy and stealing all of our goods.
And I agree. I think Assumption will win that. That's just a rundown of today's. We'll come back next week. We'll hit on the games of the week and the GearMunciana.com, whatever our feature is for next week, and our top 10 every week. Thanks. We'll see you next week.